It is time! It is finally that time of year to start breaking out our pens and pencils, getting out all of our sticker supplies, and crafting a brand new journal to keep us all on track for our goals in the coming new year. So this is going to be mine. This is a B5 Archer and Olive deckled edge page notebook that I have freshly prepared to get me started for 2026, and I cannot wait to dive in and showcase the spreads I've come up with. Hey there, I'm Howie, and if you're new here, then that makes two of us, because so am I. Welcome to my channel, and as I mentioned in today's video, it is all about what I've set up to keep me on track for my goals in 2026. Let's dive in.
I've made several significant changes to my planning method to open up 2026. The first and most obvious of those changes is this massive B5 notebook. I'm actually used to planning in an A5 size notebook, and I've gone through 3 of them since I started this practice back in November 2024.
So first up, we have our future log. This is really integral for me because I tend to plan for the long term and the long distance. So having a very long-term bird's eye view of what my year is going to look like is extremely important. So of course you'll notice January is not here in this future log, and that's because we are starting with January. So it would be too much of a duplication of information if I had to come back and put January's events in my future log, then put it in my January calendar log, and so on and so forth. So we start with February. And you'll notice I've also included the week numbers because something else I'm doing that's brand new in 2026 is I am going to be doing cyclic planning. Now, what does that mean? That means I'm not following the typical Gregorian calendar order of going month by month by month. I am making sure every week that I plan for is exactly 7 days and always starts on a Monday. So you'll notice sometimes those weeks tend to overlap. For example, week 14 consists of March 30th, 31st, and April 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. This just allows my setup to be more even and streamlined. I know every bit of time that I'm considering always has 4 weeks that consist of exactly 7 days each. So this is going to be a really interesting endeavor for me, but I feel really optimistic that it's going to help me with my ADHD tendencies. Down here for the writer's consideration, taking a bit of an RPG style overall theme for this notebook. This is where I'm going to throw anything that doesn't fit in this time frame, and sometimes that can happen. November is a birthday month for one of my partners, and December is busy with holiday plans, so having a place to throw very long-term plans is really important in my everyday carry. Next up, we have a profession log. This is, again, a kind of future log, so to speak. You'll notice here I was only able to fit in 2 quarters and a bit, or in this case, I'm calling them seasons. And this is where I'm going to be doing all of my content planning. As you may or may not have noticed, I am brand new to YouTube, and so I really want to make sure I'm putting in the work, the effort, and tracking my habits to ensuring my channel gets the attention and love that it needs to grow. So anything that's related to my YouTube channel, my Instagram channel, vendors markets, my crystal shop, my astrology, and tarot practice is going to go here. Next up, I really want to get on track of my finances this year, so I've created a coffer and collections spread. So this is where I'm going to be tracking where I'm spending my money over the course of 2026. And I created a little Dutch door so I have extra space to write more stuff down, because this doesn't really seem like it's going to fit a lot of things, especially since I'm anticipating this notebook to carry me through at least 6 months, maybe even 9. We'll see how it goes with this larger size. I've included some examples of what each type of expenditure is going to entail. So we have our necessities, and we have our frivolities, because what is life if you don't have a little bit of fun once in a while?
Down here, I have a simple cash savings tracker. Any cash savings consists of spare change that I empty out of my wallet, my pockets, my car, or money that I intentionally withdraw out of the bank to throw into my money bowl. This generally gets spent on something fun and frivolous for myself. For example, last year's goal was met, and I ended up flying myself out to Barcelona for a solo vacation in October. That trip wasn't just fun, but also a really integral step in my own personal self-development because I'm not well-traveled. So putting myself on a plane by myself and organizing a vacation on my own was huge for me.
I'm not sure what I'm going to use this cash savings for this year, but I'm thinking my target is going to be a new laptop. Next up, we have a bit more of a granular view of what's coming up first. So we have season 1 or quarter 1, and this is my quest overview. Again, I'm going with a bit of an RPG theme for this year, so rather than calling them goals, I'm calling them quests. It just sounds that much more fun. You'll notice something interesting here too is I've included a space of what I'm calling solar transits. So, as you may or may not know, I am a professional astrologer. And so what I'm using this space for is just a quick reminder of all the transits that have to do with the sun's movements in season 1 as they pertain to my personal birth chart. This is just to make sure I'm on track and I'm reminding myself of when, where, and how I can be spending my energy throughout the course of season 1. If you're not familiar with astrology, the sun is a central figure in the astrological language, and he can represent our life direction or our life purpose. So I try to keep a close eye on him, especially since I'm a day chart. I was born during the day. His influence tends to reflect more loudly when it comes to my personal life. Down here, I'm going to be writing in all of my events, appointments, happenings as they occur in season 1 so I can really be mindful of how and where I'm spending my time. I need to make sure I have time to actually work on my quests and not just do life maintenance. Anything that's not profession is going to go here. Anything that is profession is going to go in my profession log earlier in the journal.
Now, as for my quests, I have 4 main quests I'm going to be working on for season 1. I know it looks like I actually have 5, but these 2 over here are kind of tied together. So my 4 main quests are to grow my online following on Instagram and on YouTube, and I have a nifty little tracker down here to help me keep track of YouTube specifically since it's brand new. I'm also looking to book 12 client readings, either tarot or astrology. And on top of that, it is a good idea for my business to supplement it with vendors markets. So I'm going to be keeping my eye out and looking to book 3 vendors markets in season 1. I'm also looking to do a lot of decluttering around my home. So I specifically have the goal to declutter my clothing because that has gone completely out of hand, and to refurbish my altar so that I actually have space to do my tarot readings at my altar rather than at my kitchen table.
I created a nifty Dutch door to add a few more types of quests. So here we have side quests and fetch quests. For me, side quests, those are the fun, tangential quests you go on in an RPG. They're not necessarily your main quest, but they still provide some sort of entertainment and pleasure when you accomplish them. They're fun. So for this, we have maintaining my fitness routine, starting an astropedia, which is essentially just going to be a big encyclopedia of all of my astrological knowledge I've collected over the past 2 years of school, the moon parties I'll be hosting for me and my friends, and hopefully I can finally get back into playing Dungeon Master for a few TTRPG sessions.
Over here on the right, we have our fetch quests. And I'm calling these fetch quests because, let's face it, every now and again, life will throw you a curveball that is integral to advancing your plotline, your main quest, but you just don't really feel like doing it. Maybe you don't feel like doing it right away. Maybe it's just a really annoying task that you're either not good at or simply don't want to bother with. That is the essence of the fetch quest in RPGs, and that is the essence of what these lists are going to be for. That said, I will gladly accept 1001 fetch quests over ever having to escort Ashley Bloody Graham through that manor in Resident Evil 4 for the rest of my life. Escort missions are the death of me. I'm sure many gamers out there can agree. I said what I said. Moving right along, we have what I think is the most exciting part of my overall setup in my everyday journal, and that is my life admin dungeon crawler. So I had mentioned I'm going to be using an overall RPG-like theme to sort out what I want to plan or how I want to plan in this journal. But I'm taking it to the next level by creating a character, me, who is going to run through this randomly generated dungeon after I've completed tasks and achieved my quests. Those tasks and quests are going to allow me to level up my 9 skills, which you see over here. And as I grow as a character, I'll be able to beat tougher monsters and collect better loot. Now, ideally, there's supposed to be rewards associated with each of these rooms in the dungeon, but I haven't quite worked out exactly what that's going to look like yet. So there are still some tweaks to be made, but I'm excited to get into this nonetheless. The most exciting part, I think, is this adventure log down here. And you'll see it continues over to the next spread to give myself plenty of room to write. Not only is the adventure log going to serve as a save point system, so I can track where I've stopped in the dungeon and what rooms I've already cleared, this is also going to be a really nifty tool to help spark my creativity. I actually wanted to be a novelist back in high school, and life got in the way, and I really feel like my creative spark and imagination just got snuffed out somehow. So I'd like to revitalize that inner novelist somewhere still in my heart and soul, and also help me write those TTRPG campaigns I'm supposed to be hosting. I will absolutely keep you all updated on how this game goes and how it functions as I play through it.
And with that, we are moving straight into what I'm calling chapters. As I mentioned, I'm doing cyclic planning for 2026, so my new year actually starts today as I'm filming this on Monday, December 29th. And even though the boxes are purposefully and artistically askew, you'll see that I have 4 even rows of 7 days each, plus an extra column for my tarot card readings of the week. You'll also notice that I thought I was printing this for my work journal, which is another notebook that I keep in my lineup of various notebooks. And because I don't work on weekends, I don't have to print Saturday or Sunday headers in my work journal. So as you can see, I forgot my Saturday and Sundays in my everyday journal, but I will fix that shortly, no problem. So we're going to be running chapter 1, which is essentially January from December 29th all the way down to January 25th. And these tarot cards actually correspond to something I do on a monthly basis, which is the tarot of the chapter. So at the beginning of every month, I pull 8 cards, 4 for the overall core categories of my life, and 4 for very important focused events that I need to pay attention to in each of the weeks of the month. And I do a reading, I pull out core themes, and this just gives me some foresight into what I can expect the month is going to look like. That way, I'm mentally prepared, I'm spiritually prepared, and I'm just ready to tackle any challenges that come my way. So the weekly ones are going to get recorded here as a reminder, because I've noticed in last year's journals, I often forgot to come back and reflect on these cards, especially when those difficult obstacles came up. I already got the heads up. The whole point is to use that heads up to do something creative about it and navigate it better. Over on the right, this is actually something that will be done throughout the course of the chapter, but it is the chapter review. It is what actually happened, what were my takeaways, both good and bad, from that chapter. So I have a space for memories. I have a space for victories, which is essentially specific accomplishments. Memories are more, how was I feeling in a moment? Whereas victories are, what action did I take that led to a win or a sense of accomplishment for me? We also have a space for struggles because, let's face it, acknowledging your obstacles and challenges is really important to self-development. But it's also important to provide solutions to those struggles. So these two sections go hand in hand. And just in case I run out of writing space in my dashboards, I also have an extra space here just to throw any reminders of what's happening next chapter. Maybe something in my future log is full and I don't have room for that month. I can find some space here. This also encourages me to go back and actually look over my chapter review because I know, okay, this highlighted section, I need to make sure I'm reviewing this before I populate my next chapter. Next up, we have what I am tracking in my everyday carry. So for this chapter, I'm doing things kind of differently than what I've done previously. I'm really taking my fitness regimen to the next level and I'm taking it a lot more seriously. This last quarter of 2025 has been super successful and has given me such a boost of confidence when it comes to fitness. I want to keep rolling with that momentum moving into 2026. So while I couldn't list every possible workout that I do, I listed the core lifts that I do in my weightlifting program. And I'm just going to end up marking down how many sets I did of that particular lift and what weight I was reaching for in weeks 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this is a nifty way for me to keep track of the core movements. You might notice that it looks a little funny, and that's because when I saw these highlights, my brain went, ah yes, we put the text in the highlights and that's it. So my bench press is mixed in with my Romanian deadlift and my sumo squats are mixed in with my bent over row. They were supposed to be organized by muscle group, but it didn't happen that way. That's okay, we carry on. This journal is for me and that's all that matters. I also have a space to track all of my tarot pulls throughout the course of a month, and I made sure to include a key so I remember what card was pulled for what purpose. And I just like doing this. I'm someone who loves statistics. I love looking back at previous statistics for what happened in previous months and seeing what the overall tarot vibe was for a given month or a given season or even a given year. It feeds my goblin brain. I enjoy it. And it can also tell me spiritually what I was going through at any point in my life and at any point in a year. I've left myself a little cleaning log here. One thing that I do struggle with is house cleaning and home maintenance. So what I like to do is I like to write the date and what I did on that day. That way I know and I can see where I'm falling short, where I'm not tidying up often enough. And also, when was the last time I did like big deep cleaning things like polishing the stainless steel appliances? That's not really something you do every day, so when was the last time I did it? Over on the right, as I mentioned, I'm a professional astrologer, so keeping track of astrology is really important both in my personal life and in my professional life. So for every month, I write down in this really funky timeline sort of format the astrology of the month. This is the general astrology, whereas my solar transits earlier were personal astrology as they pertain to me. And I always make sure to highlight my lunations so I can visualize exactly when those are happening and plan accordingly. And this weekly musing space is just a short form journaling space for me to jot down happenings as they pertain to astrological transits. My idea here is that anything that happens in accordance with the astrology or that reflects the astrology, it's all on the same page rather than me having to flip through all of the rest of my journal looking for the long form entries of, hey, when was the last time we had a Venus-Saturn square and like what was going on in my life at that time? Ideally, it's captured on this page somewhere. And finally, we have our first weekly dashboard. I love weekly dashboards. These are my absolute favorite spreads and most integral spreads to add to any journal. I do these in obviously my everyday, but I do these in my work journal as well. And I'm reformatting things a little bit differently as well. Not only do I have way more real estate in this large B5 notebook so that I can write down more ideas and add larger decoration, this gave me an opportunity to really rethink what I want to keep track of, what needs recording, what belongs in this journal. You'll notice that I had a last minute idea, and so this section over here doesn't have a header, but this is going to be specifically for goal action items that I pull from my goal planner. So the way this works out for my brain, because my brain works a little bit granular sometimes, each day is going to have priorities for that day. Whether it's events, appointments, or actual actions, anything pertaining to goals is going to go in this list so that I can see, yes, maybe washing the car is a priority, but also I want to make sure I'm touching base on my priority goal actions as well. And this column is just going to be the date that I actually complete it because I trial ran this month in December and I kept forgetting exactly when I did each goal action item because they weren't tied to a day. And finally, anything that's frivolous that I would like to get done but doesn't necessarily make a huge difference in my life if I miss it is going to go under the planned section. And anything that comes up during the course of the week, which I notice tends to happen to a lot of us, that can go in the unplanned section. So then I can really see what my plan was and how it actually played out at the end of the week. And if I need to make adjustments for my plan next week, I can accordingly. I have my mini calendar because if I don't see what's happening in the future, I get tunnel vision so bad, y'all. So these mini calendars are integral to have in any of my weekly dashboards. We have a space to track what I call rituals, which are basically just my daily habits, my daily routines. I gotta say though, I doubled the amount of rituals I want to track every day, and I'm already starting to forget what each of these icons means, so I think for my next dashboard, I'm actually going to start writing these out. Even if it's just a one-word cue to remember what that habit is, the icons just aren't doing it for me anymore. And let's face it, something I learned the hard way, I'm not a doodler. I don't like doodling, it's just not my forte. Writing things out is where it's at. We have a notes space for anything that doesn't really fit anywhere else in this spread. And very important for the goblin brain, it feeds off of dopamine. It gets discouraged very easily. I have a space for tiny wins. This is a little bit different than my victories spread at the start of the chapter. This is specifically for really small victories and to remember to express gratitude for those small victories. So for example, a tiny win could be, oh, my friend texted me to give me a compliment. That's a nice, out of the box happening. I appreciate that. Or another tiny win is, oh, this is a funny one because this actually happened recently. Oh, I got a tater tot in my McDonald's fry order. That's a tiny win. That's something that deserves a little bit of celebration. So I make room for that in my journal. Last but not least, we have my dailies. And these are not the same dailies that you would see in something like the bullet journal method. These are long form journal entries where at the start of every day, as part of my morning ritual, I pull one card from my tarot deck of the month and I pull the bottom card of the deck. And these two cards together give me an overview or insight into something really important that is going to require my intention, that is going to require me to write it down and keep it to memory. And I'll journal about the tarot cards I pull and then kind of do a little morning manifesto of how I'm feeling about my goal work, my priorities, how things are going where it comes to my action items. And that's going to continue onto these pages with the same second line highlights as I carry on through the week. Then once the next week rolls around, Sunday night, I do this all over again. And that is how I embrace my creativity in a leisurely way. This is fun to me. I love decorating and scrapbooking. Like I said, I'm not a doodler, I'm not a painter. This is where I get my creative juices flowing and the satisfaction and sense of accomplishment as an artist. So that's what I have set up to get me started for 2026. Y'all, I'm so excited for this. I've been waiting to showcase this journal all weekend, and I'm really happy that this is the one I chose to experiment with. So like I said, we'll see how the B5 goes. It's looking pretty hefty. It's looking like a lot of space, a lot of real estate. And I'll keep you posted on how I'm feeling about this journal as we go through it. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and I will catch you all in the next video. Take care of yourselves and each other. See ya.